or their personal accounts about what happened from them at this time. So it may be several days before we get the full picture. Of course, were there cameras in this church? That would definitely speed up that investigation to a little bit of a degree. But typically there aren't cameras in churches, and if there are, they're very few and far between, maybe not enough cameras to get the whole picture of what took place. So as investigators, scores of investigators on the ground are trying to really piece together this story about what exactly happened. Again, it may take some time because there's so many details that took place. There's so many lives that were involved in this that they want to get everything out there accurately. And again, those departments, as you talked about, the ATF, FBI, local officials, county officials, state officials, law enforcement, they also have to collaborate to get their stories together before they can really put out accurate information to the public. So, of course, they have to collaborate before they can do that. There's a lot of communication that goes on here, a lot of information gathering, a lot of evidence gathering before they can put out a complete story of what happened with this gunman. And then if you take into account what's happening on social media, there are people who are tweeting out their own information. Law enforcement officials also have to analyze that data and put that together and correlate it to their own stories of what they know possibly took place.
Thank you for joining us and for giving all that input. That was Aurora Press TV's Colin Campbell. Everyone, you're joining us. We're live out of Sutherland Springs there. Those are images coming in. Law enforcement is trying to put together a church shooting during a congregation. A man has walked into a church, possibly taken nearly 30 lives, injured nearly 30 others. These are all uncorroborated reports. As soon as we get the story developed, we'll get it out to you accordingly. Thanks again, Colin.
Esau at it again, trying to convince us that there's been another shooting as of yesterday, starting at the second week in November. They expect us to believe that some fucking mad fucking nut went into a church and shot it up. You know, that's what they expect us to believe. But we know that everything the white man says is a lie. So either way, we're going to get to the truth behind the headlines because, of course, like everything else, we know that they screw up in their mainstream story. And we know that pretty much their mediocrities, you know, are paid. These are hired people paid to lie to you on a daily basis. There's no truth to be found. And you can't even find it on the alternative media, such as Press TV or RT. They're still going to sell you the story that some madman, you know, came in there. Because, of course, you know, the media is controlled by the bankers, you know. Hello and welcome to In Revelation Times, where the word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai differs with everything we've been taught. And that's where I'm going to try to direct everybody to subscribe to the In Revelation Times channel, as, you know, we break down these things in fullness. But I'm just kind of giving y'all an idea on what I do there, you know, is I take shit like this and I break it all down, you know, and bring you into scriptures and show you how the so-called white man lies to you on a daily basis, you know. And then, of course, you have, you know, hired people within, you know, these Israelite camps that are also pretty much on the side of the so-called white man that cause division and pretty much, you know, pretty much they want to dissolve and destroy Great Millstone, in particularly because Great Millstone is the one in true camp that's actually out there teaching the actual truth, you know, and not changing the message, not changing, say, oh, well, the mark is Christianity, you know, it's the embargo of Christianity, you know, or they change up. No, man, this is, they stay to the truth. And the truth is that the so-called white man, the devil, it is Esau, and he's a liar, and, you know, and we don't teach anything differently, you know. That's how you know what a true camp is from a false camp, you know. And the same about being black or, you know, oh my, I have less pigmentation than that, so I must be an Edomite. You know, we don't do that, you know, because there are a lot of confusing of faces like myself that are coming into this truth. So, you know, we encourage everybody, you know, to find out what's really happening. Just don't take our word for it, but find out who the real Hebrew Israelites are. And, you know, if everything you've been told, if you know everything you've been told has been a lie, you know, shit like this, you know they're lying to you. And this so-called Jesus that you've been forced to worship, you know, you're your parents made you go to church, and it's like, well, you didn't fit in with that, and they're teaching something, but man, that's not lining up to what I'm reading about. This God that I'm reading about has been provoked to wrath, but you're telling me he's merciful and he wants to save the entire world, that he loves the entire world. Then why is he going to destroy it? Why did he destroy it? Why the flood? So things ain't lining up. You've been questioning that, because you've been an Israelite this entire time. You just were never told you were, because this has been covered up. Because, of course, why did we lose the kingdom? Because, quite simply put, we were not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And we were into idolatry, worshiping other idols, which is what this current Cesare Borgia Jesus Christ image is it's another idol. And our people, man, they don't want to get away from this image of Cesare Borgia, which is their image, because it's Esau going into the temple showing that he is God, pretty much, that he pretty much commands the quarters of the north, as Isaiah chapter 14 says. He set up his images, but like everything else, though, you're questioning everything you see, and it's like, the news is fake, that everything else is bullshit, that it's like, wait a minute, and it doesn't even make sense what they're saying, it's like, wait a minute, if he so loved the world, then why are so many people going to go to hell? Going to go to this fiery place, because they mix up the scriptures of the lake of fire and hell being the same thing, but the lake of fire is really World War III, the thermonuclear weapons that will be launched against Babylon the Great, America. Nor do these Christians even want to talk about Babylon the Great being America. They want to embrace America, embrace homosexuality, embrace everything else, and say, well, hate the sin but love the sinner, which doesn't make any sense either. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Well, what's that talking about? Because they have no knowledge in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. They have no knowledge of what his real name is. They have no background whatsoever. They have no knowledge at all. But yet you're now being brought into the knowledge. You're questioning everything. Because we are in that generation where we were in a dead state, which is what the dry bones are talking about in Ezekiel chapter 37. We were in that dead state, but now we're coming back into this truth. And the truth is that you've been living a lie. Everything you see, it's not real. These shootings, they ain't real. They're nothing more than just rehearsed scripts. No different than a Clint Eastwood movie with a bunch of action and all that. You got everybody out there to make you think it's real because you hear the sounds and all that in your city, and wow, it seems pretty real. They have this place locked down and all that. That seems pretty real to me. And the local news is going to tell you that it was a shooting, even though it's nothing of the sort. And if you ever question their narrative, or you ever say that this is fake, they're going to lock you down, like the other guy says, well, why, and this is rehearsals, because what goes on the press, they didn't even put it on there, but they said they were killing people in them shelters. That's why he wouldn't go to a shelter. Well, they weren't going to allow that on the mainstream news, but you saw it, and that video's been circulated, so y'all know that, they're killing people in them shelters. Duh, FEMA. And what's the ultimate goal? To get everybody on the microchips, and those that simply will not go along are going to be executed. And they're going to execute people anyways, even if you do want that microchip. They're executing people already. They've been getting rid of the homeless population for quite some time. These school buses that drive around that are empty, but are blacked out windows, are going around patrolling the neighborhood looking for, the homeless. That's where it starts anyways. And nobody gives a fuck about the goddamn homeless, If they round them up and all that, it's like, well, at least I don't have to see their scum around. That's the way the so-called white man thinks. It's like, okay, we finally got rid of the nuisance. And our people are just following right along with the so-called white man, embracing these wicked holidays, which I hate using that word, but at the same time, embracing this wickedness, going and buying turkey and trying to celebrate these wicked feast days, which is really the celebration of the slaughter of our people. But people want to partake in that and act like Esau's their best friend. Esau's never been our friend. That's why they're lying to us on a daily basis. But the average Edomite has no idea what the fuck's going on. And their so-called leaders are the ones that are selling them into slavery, that they're in slavery now under their own leadership. These Amalekites, which are the high elite of Esau, you know. So they'd rather be in slavery under us, we Hebrew Israelites, and that's coming soon, you know. So they should actually be embracing going into slavery, right? But they don't understand the scriptures, and Edomite can't get this. They can't understand this because they've been lied to so bad, you know, that they believe the lie that this Jesus Christ, so-called white man, came to save everybody, loves the entire world, is looking to be a uniter, a unifier. And that's not the God you read about in there, and you know it isn't. You've been reading those scriptures, and yet he does not seem to be a unifier. Think that I have not come to bring peace upon the earth, but rather I come to, you know, set apart, you know. And which that's talking about the elect. The elect are going to be set apart from the rest, you know. He's not a so-called, you know, unifier. He's not come here to set peace, but rather to divide and get his real sheep, the ones that will hear his voice, that will hearken to his voice, which is what them dry bones are, you know. And that's why, you know, they make all these zombie movies and shit like that, because, of course, we've been in a dead state. We've been walking around zombies, zombified by shit like this. Fake news, you know, which they're the fake news, but they now put the label fake news on any truther out there, you know, that we're fake news, when in fact it's Esau, the Illuminati-run media, that pretty much is the fake news, the mainstream news. And yes, RT and Press TV and all of them just go right along with it. They sell you the story, so you're going to see these clips, and we going to tell you the truth. This whole thing's staged. It's an Illuminati card game. It's lots of things. These things are pre-planned. They've been rehearsed, just like your Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry movies, you know, pretty much, so that way you'll give up your guns and you'll quickly run to FEMA, you know, FEMA preparedness. You know, they have it in all sorts of forms. If you're on disability, you know, they're going to say, oh, well, we got emergency preparedness class. Yeah, preparing you to walk into the FEMA centers. You know, what to do if there's a fire in your neighborhood or if there's a real emergency. Well, if you're part of the elect, you ain't going to go to their FEMA centers anyways, because you know they're killing people in them shelters. So they're manufacturing these events, and these events, they're all fake. They're all staged, and, you know, and you got to watch what you title your videos, because if you title it incorrectly, they'll take it down, they'll put a flag on it, they'll say it goes against the YouTube community. So be very careful. But by all means, forward this message, forward the videos, split it up, do whatever you do. That's what I do. Getting this truth out there. Because the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is the truth. And it shall be preached to all nations. This is the gospel. I also want to say double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And a shout out to the Akim that's out there also pushing the truth. If you're like me and you're not near a camp and all that, but you're the only one speaking in that city, then you're part of that Akim that's out there pushing the truth. So double honors to you too. We know that it's not easy being the only one in that city, you know. And I say we because we're Hebrew Israelites. We are a nation. But right now, we were set into the four quarters of the earth, and but we're all coming back into the fold. We are that marriage unto Yahushai that's coming back. We are the ones that are coming back, because we're all Gentiles in the essence that we're not in the land yet. So we're Gentiles. We're Hebrew Israelite foreigners. We're off to a foreign land, Babylon the Great in particularly, and all around the world. But soon, Yahushai will restore our kingdom. And that's what we're doing, is we're proclaiming the kingdom and coming out of all this programming. So don't be fooled. It's just Esau again trying to fool you with that same old sheepskin, like the wolf story of the wolf and the three little pigs, you know. You can't fool us with that same sheepskin. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to fool you into making you think that this is an actual event. You know, it's all bullshit. They're lying to you just like they lied to you about who the Messiah was, just like they lied to you saying that they're the Israelites, a.k.a. the Jews, and you know that that's bullshit. So be not tricked. It's another one of the devil's dirty tricks.
We're going to take you live into the U.S. We're getting reports out of Texas, a breaking story developing on the minute, that there's been a shooting at a church about 30 miles southeast of San Antonio. And we see that's the report. There's at least confirmed 27 dead, 24 injured in that church. It's the First Baptist Church in Texas, southeast of Houston. We have multiple casualties reported, 27 dead as of now. This is just breaking as we're bringing it to you. You know, very little. We know that the attacker has apparently been shot dead at the scene. The shooter was reportedly killed. Shooting took place at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs. That's the name of the town. Sutherland Springs. You can see we were bringing you live images. That's the church below. Witnesses say a man walked into a church and there were multiple rounds, about 20-30 shots heard from outside the church as the church session was underway. Okay, we have our correspondent ready to try to help us try to get more on the story. Colin Campbell joining us out of Washington. Hello, Colin, what more can you tell us at this point?
Well, what we know so far is that a gunman entered the church around 11:30 local time and fired multiple shots. We're unclear how many victims there are so far, but police have pushed the scene back, and they're trying to keep everyone a safe distance away from the church as they try to evacuate most of the parishioners inside of that church. Now, this gunman entered, and some people said that he arrived already shooting. Others said that he waited until he was inside the church, until they knew that there was a service going on before those shots were fired. Some of the records and some of the documents and testimonies coming from witnesses have already been shared with the FBI as they are trying to lay out exactly how this scene started and what exactly happened as the gunman went through the church indiscriminately firing multiple shots. Again, we're not exactly sure how many victims there are, but they are pushing the scene back. They're trying to secure the area. And remember, this comes just days after another shooting in Walmart in Colorado, where a very Christian person said to have Bibles in his room fired shots inside of a Walmart. And, of course, we had the shooting just a couple weeks ago in Las Vegas, a mass shooting, where there were more than 55 victims and hundreds of others injured as the gunman opened fire at a concert, a country music concert, and almost 60 people were killed. It's one of the worst mass shootings in recent U.S. history, not in throughout U.S. history total, but in recent years. And so many people are wondering what is going to happen next for lawmakers to try to make a decision as far as it comes to gun control and trying to regulate some of these firearms that seem to take too many lives too soon, too quickly.
And this has it eerily reminds us of that the Charleston church massacre. If you remember, mid-2015, around June or July, I think it was, a young man went into that the African American church there in Charleston, South Carolina, gunning down people that were in during a church proceeding. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's right. Of course, I remember that. That took place in Charleston, and that, of course, took place in June of 2017. Dylan Roof, who was sentenced to death. He's the perpetrator where he killed 9 people, and a very well-known pastor in that area. He waited when they stopped praying together to open fire. He actually sat through a service, a prayer circle, I believe, and then he opened fire on those congregants, killing 9 people, I believe. He was known to be a white nationalist and a sympathizer for very, I wouldn't say supremacist thought, but very nationalist and very right-leaning and very aggressive and very extremist mentality. So this was something that, again, does give us memories of that. But of course, many people are thinking of just some of the recent shootings where lots of people have been killed. Of course, we do remember last year at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, where about 50 people were killed in that shooting as well, where a gunman opened fire in that club, and that had to be shut down. And for several days, people were trying to figure out what the motive was behind this shooting. So this seems to be obviously an ongoing problem in the U.S., as many people wonder, what are lawmakers going to do? What is it going to take for them to take action? And again, we have already seen the statistics. Increase of gun violence in the U.S. since these shootings have occurred over the past several years, and nothing is really being done about it.
I mean, Colin, what can really be done? I mean, after Sandy Hook, we saw a couple dozen small children get slaughtered behind, and then that didn't lead to any kind of gun control. Then that really kind of sums it up, that the gun control lobby, how much power it has, what kind of choking grip it has on lawmakers.
It really does. It's very demonstrative of the power and authority that the National Rifle Association has on lawmakers and the political will that they choose not to engage in order to try to do anything about gun control. The part that I think a lot of Americans are frustrated over is not the fact that they are calling or not calling for gun control or trying to take away guns or limiting guns. It's the fact that there is so much inaction all the way around when it comes to background checks, regulation, selling guns across state lines, looking at the straw man purchases. There are lots of things that lawmakers could do to at least decrease the amount of gun violence happening in the country, but there is a lot of inactivity. Even when it comes to legislation, it's trying to track how much gun violence occurs in the U.S. The CDC has tried to implement some policies that would track the number of deaths and the number of people killed by gun violence when it comes to local civilians, when it comes to the police force, and even then there is a lack of political will to even enforce these policies or even try to initiate these policies. So again, yes, when you look at Sandy Hook and you think dozens of children massacred, teachers massacred, and nothing has been done, it makes one wonder, what would it take? Would it take a widespread increase of gun violence every week for something to happen? No one really knows. But we do have a very frustrated American public and, of course, a very scared and nervous American public.
Thanks for joining us, Colin. We're going to let this develop for a few minutes. We know very little about it, but just to let you know, Colin, we got reports in the 27 dead, 24 injured right now. This is the latest out of that Texas church shooting. That was our Press TV's Colin Campbell, everyone, joining us out of Washington, D.C. There's live images coming out of Sutherland Springs. That's about 30 miles southeast of the city of San Antonio, state of Texas. There's been a church shooting. A man has walked into a church and gunned down well over 24 people, another couple dozen injured. That's all we know. We don't know who he is or what his motive may be. As soon as we get this developed for you, we'll get it out to you accordingly later in the program.
A Fox News alert, the constable in Wilson County telling Fox News that they are now pulling bodies out of a church after responding to an active shooter situation in Sutherland Springs, Texas. That's about 45 minutes outside of San Antonio. Authorities responded to the First Baptist Church. Initial reports indicate a suspect entered the church and opened fire 11:30 a.m. Central Time, which would be about an hour and a half ago. A scene on the Reporter says there were a number of Air Life medical helicopters dispatched. Another reporter on the scene also tweeting out in the past couple of minutes, Liz, that the shooter is dead. There is no more active threat, but that is not something that we have yet been able to confirm. The constable, though, confirming to Fox News there was a mass shooting and, quote, we are working on removing bodies. Clearly a awful situation on Sunday there in Texas.
1980s by Steve Jackson Games, with later versions created into the 90s. This deck of cards has made very accurate predictions, such as the false flag attack on the World Trade Center on 9/11 and the attack on the Pentagon on the same day. Princess Diana died in mysterious circumstances, allegedly while fleeing the paparazzi. So one could argue that this card predicts her demise. And depending what year this card was released, it either predicts or refers to the Waco Massacre of 1991, where the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, or the BATF, burned down the Branch Davidian Church, killing over 70 people, many of whom were children. The card game also refers to past and present events such as NASA faking the moon landings, the rewriting of history, gun control, an energy crisis, weather manipulation, subliminal messages, and the subversive power of the Vatican. The card game also features cards which have not yet come to pass, for example, further chaos, a fake alien invasion, and World War III. The whole point of this is to show you that the hidden elite powers of the world plan things many years ahead of time and leave clues in unlikely places. I will be showing you many examples of this as we go on. Also, we may be able to use these clues to make an educated guess at what is coming. It is demonstrable that various secret societies around the world play a significant part in major world events. The main secret societies for the sake of this video are the Knights Templar, Freemasonry, and the Skull and Bones Society. These secret societies are obsessed with ritual, symbolism, and numbers. On Friday the 13th of October 1307, the society known as the Knights Templar were arrested and tried for heresy against the Church. In order to avoid punishment, many of the remaining Templars went into hiding only to emerge years later as the Freemasons. The most significant number in Freemasonry is 33, because it is the highest attainable degree in the Scottish Rite. This number will crop up a lot more as we continue. The Knights Templar also controlled the original pirates, who operated under the black flag with a white skull and crossbones, a logo which is still used today by the Skull and Bones Society of Yale University. Their number is 322, which will also be significant as we proceed. Like a serial killer, these secret societies leave their numbers behind at terror events, rather like a signature. For example, JFK. A few miles from the 33rd parallel lies Elm Street in Dallas, Texas, the location of the assassination of JFK. Dallas, Texas, in numerology is 33. Kennedy in numerology is 33. JFK was killed on the 22nd of November, or the 22nd of the 11th, the sum of which is 33. Kennedy was shot at Dealey Plaza, which is, according to some researchers, an outdoor temple of the sun. And on Kennedy's gravesite you will find an eternal flame burning. This is one last insult to him, because the eternal flame has great esoteric significance to the Luciferian secret societies. These are just a few examples of the Luciferian signature left behind concerning John F. Kennedy. In the UK, in May 2004, there was an episode of Panorama called London Under Attack, which featured a terrorist attack in London very similar to those experienced in reality 14 months later, known as the 7/7 bombings. This is what is known as predictive programming, whereby the establishment informs the masses of what is going to happen before it actually does. This concept proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that these so-called terrorist attacks are premeditated by the country in which they occur. They are not unexpected attacks from an outside force of Islamic extremists, they are just the scapegoats. But in this predictive programming episode of Panorama, which prophesied the 7/7 bombings, there was a man by the name of Peter Power. He featured as a so-called expert on Panorama, to tell everybody what would happen if something like this did occur. But in an unbelievable act of prophecy, Peter Power was conducting a terrorism training operation on the morning of 7/7 in the exact location that the real terrorist attacks occurred. See how they like to rub it in your face? It becomes much more clear as we go on. Another example of predictive programming would be the album cover of The Coops' Party Music. This quite clearly shows the destruction of the World Trade Centers, but it was created in June 2001, 3 months before the 9/11 attacks actually took place. Friday the 13th of November 2015 was the date of the Bataclan attacks in Paris. This false flag attack happened at an Eagles of Death metal concert and interrupted their performance while they were playing a song called Kiss the Devil. After this false flag terrorist attack, In respect for the victims who died there, the Eagles of Death Metal released a song called Save a Prayer, which is a cover version from a band called Duran Duran, who released it 33 years previously. Duran in numerology is 9, so Duran Duran is 99. Remember this. I'd also like to draw your attention to this curious unidentified gold object on the floor at the Bataclan attack. It is unclear what this is, but it will become relevant later. In addition, the blood smears on the floor resemble the logo for the Brussels airport, which is the location of the next terrorist attack. The number 322 underneath the Skull and Bones Society logo can refer to a date, the 22nd day of the 3rd month, or March 22nd. On Tuesday, 22nd of March, or 322, 2016, there was a false flag terrorist attack in Belgium, in Brussels, where bombs were detonated at an airport and an underground train network. 33 years prior to this, AC/DC released an album called Flick of the Switch, which featured a song called Bedlam in Belgium. Bedlam meaning a scene of uproar and mayhem, as was experienced in Belgium on 3/22/2016, 33 years later. There is also a golden-coloured, large sculpture in Brussels Airport. Following our gold theme, you should remember this for later. Later, in 2016, on the 14th of July, there was a false flag terrorist attack along the French Riviera. A truck was deliberately driven into crowds of people celebrating Bastille Day. 1 month previously, a film was released called Bastille Day, in which a rogue CIA agent is on a mission to stop a terrorist attack in France. Now let me say that again, folks. In June 2016, a film was released about a terrorist attack in France. The film is called Bastille Day. 1 month later, in July 2016, there was a terrorist attack in France on Bastille Day. Exactly 1 year after the Belgium attacks, on 3/22/2017, there was another terrorist attack, this time in London. So, what music could be significant 33 years prior to this? Well, a good place to look would be the UK charts, and what we find here is mind-blowing. 33 years ago was 1984, and on 3/22/1984, the UK number 1 was 99 Red Balloons by Nina, and this is actually very significant. In the music video for this song, we see Nina walking along with 2 3s on either side of her. So, we have our 33 again. And, in the German version of the song called 99 Luftballons, which was released 1 year previously, we see Nina with Skull and Bones earrings on. So, we have a reference to 3/22 before the song was even released in English and got to number 1 on 3/22. Also, Nina is German, and all of her songs are in German, apart from this one, which was released in English and reached number 1 in the UK charts exactly 33 years prior to a terrorist attack in England. So we have 33, which could be 33 years, we have our 3/22, and we have English, or England. But now we need to examine the lyrics to this song. Now this song is actually talking about a war with extraterrestrials. Now hold on, I know that sounds ridiculous, but just listen to these lyrics. But I must qualify here, I don't think aliens are real. If there was a battle in our sky with UFOs, it would be another false flag event. And remember, whenever there is a UFO sighting, the official story is that it was just a balloon of some sort. In fact, the official story for the famous Roswell crash, which happened at 33 degrees north on the 7th of July, or 7/7, is still that it was a US Air Force balloon. It will become clear that these 99 red balloons is a code for UFOs, but just bear with me on this one. So here we go. You and I in a little toy shop buy a bag of balloons with the money we've got, set them free at the break of dawn till one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software, now later this will become clear that this is referring to a military base, flash the message, something's out there. Floating in the summer sky, 99 red balloons go by. 99 red balloons floating in the summer sky, that could be referring to the summer, I don't know. Panic bells, it's red alert, there's something here from somewhere else. The war machine springs to life, as a reference to going to war. Opens up one eager eye. Now this is a direct reference to secret societies. The one eager eye is the eye of Lucifer. Focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. 99 Decision Street, 99 ministers meet. So this is something very significant happening. To worry, worry, super scurry. Call the troops out in a hurry. Again, that's a direct reference to war. This is what we've waited for. This is it, boys. This is war. The president is on the line, so this is something very significant happening, as 99 red balloons go by. 99 Knights of the Air ride super high-tech jet fighters, so that's war again. Everyone's a superhero, everyone's a Captain Kirk. Now, Captain Kirk was a character from Star Trek, so this is, a reference to a fictional intergalactic character. With orders to identify, to clarify and classify. Scramble in the summer sky, 99 red balloons go by. This summer sky is consistent throughout the song, so a question would be, what's going to happen in the summer sky? Is it this summer? I don't know. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty, in this dust that was a city. So this could be a reference to a city being destroyed. So I believe that this song is referring to a fake alien invasion. And let's get one thing straight, it will be fake. We currently have flocks of so-called truth seekers running around talking about an extraterrestrial presence on Earth, not realising that they are being deceived into a huge psyop. You've got controlled opposition agents like Freemason David Icke and Jordan Maxwell and many, many more pushing this agenda, not to mention the fact that it was the CIA who set up the UFO magazines and the goofologist conferences in the US, along with a blatant Hollywood campaign to condition us all to believe in aliens, and mainstream programs like Ancient Aliens, which has thoroughly been debunked, by the way. I'll leave links in the description. All of this is leading up to a false extraterrestrial visitation or invasion, the result of which will be to unite the world against a common enemy in a new world order or a one-world totalitarian government, which is the main agenda of the elite. And as far as alien abductions go, they can just as easily be explained by CIA mind control and implanted memories. Some people even suggest that there is a demonic aspect to it all. There are testimonies of people who, while being abducted, have called upon Jesus Christ, and subsequently the experience has stopped, and they were woken up in bed. If you believe aliens are intergalactic rather than spiritual, then I would advise looking at it all again with a more open mind. In numerology, 99 red balloons is 999. 9 and 9 is 18, which 1 and 8 is 9. Red is 18, which again goes down to 9, and balloons is 27, and 2 and 7 goes down to 9. So 999 could refer to the emergency contact number of the United Kingdom, so we're back in England again. Or it could refer to the inversion of 666, I don't know. Also, something that will become relevant later is that Nina left high school before graduating and trained to be a goldsmith. So just remember this for later on. Another band that we've mentioned before is Duran Duran, which in numerology is 99. They had significance 33 years prior to the Bataclan attacks, so did they have anything relevant 33 years before 2017? Well, they had 3 songs enter the UK charts in 1984. One called The Reflex, the lyrics to which I was unable to decipher. Another song called New Moon on Monday, which reached number 9 in the charts. The music video to this depicts a horse and cart being loaded with explosives, and at the end of the video you see a kite in the night sky, which appears to be a UFO, or a fake UFO. So again, we're back at the fake alien invasion. And a verse to this song actually kind of spoke to me. It says, breaking away with the beast of both worlds, a smile that you can't disguise. Every minute I keep finding clues that you leave behind. So I checked, and the only new moon on Monday this year falls on the 21st of August. And Duran Duran's third and final song to enter the UK charts 33 years ago was called Wild Boys, where they even reference an August moon. It says, the wild boys are calling on their way back from the fire. In August, moons surrender to a dust cloud on the rise. So just remember the 21st of August, it might have some significance, it may not. I feel I should also mention Iron Maiden here. In 1984, Iron Maiden had 2 songs enter the UK charts, both of which are about war. Aces High describes a battle between aircraft, and 2 Minutes to Midnight is the countdown to a nuclear attack. And the music video to this song is very interesting. It shows a group of terrorists, but it also shows a hidden hand type conspiracy where so-called officials identify with each other using the occult symbol of the Eye of Horus. What's interesting is that in the video we see a shot of Big Ben under repair, followed by a shot of a model missile. And other researchers have pointed out that there has been a negative theme in the UK media about Big Ben, often talking about structural problems and mechanical problems. There has also been a lot of demolitions of Big Ben happen in films. In the 2016 film called London Has Fallen, we see a scene of combined disasters in London. One has to ask, is this more predictive programming? Is something big going to happen in London? So it's all very well looking at all of these terror events and viewing the symbolism in hindsight, but can we use any of this to make a prediction? Well, no, I would never be so stupid, but we can make an educated guess. One could make an interesting case for suggesting that there will be a terrorist attack at Slam Dunk Music Festival in England. 99 Red Balloons was famously covered by a band called Goldfinger, who added a much more heavy element to it. They also incorporated some of the German lyrics too. They released the song in 2000, 17 years after the German version was released. 17 years after that brings us up to the year 2017. Now, Goldfinger will be performing at Slam Dunk Festival this year, at the end of May. So, we have a musical connection to the previous false flag attack in England on 322, because Goldfinger always finished their set with 99 Red Balloons. Also, Slam Dunk 2017 in numerology is 33. Now, Slam Dunk Festival visits 3 different locations on the final weekend of May, starting in Birmingham, then moving to Leeds, then back down to Hatfield. The obvious location for something to happen would be Hatfield, since it is next door to London. Also, the location is the University of Herts, Hatfield, which in numerology is 99. However, one could just as easily make an argument for Leeds. Slam Dunk will visit Leeds on the 28th of May, or the 28th day of the 5th month, the sum of which is 33. And in Leeds, they close the roads off and hold the festival in the town centre. The main stage is located in front of the town hall, on either side of which are 2 pillars with golden owls on top. So we have the 2 pillars of Freemasonry and the occult significance of the owl, a symbol of wisdom and intellect. This is also reminiscent of the giant owl statue at Bohemian Grove, which is literally worshipped by the idiots who attend. This also ties into the gold theme. There was the gold object on the floor at the Bataclan attacks, the large gold sculpture at the scene of the Belgium attacks, Nina trained to be a goldsmith, her song was covered by Goldfinger, and now we have Golden Owls. Now all this doesn't necessarily mean that there will be a false flag terror attack at Slam Dunk. It could just be that they are confirming the final steps towards the false flag alien visitation, as described in the song 99 Red Balloons. However, I certainly wouldn't rule terrorism out. The main point is that you all prepare thoroughly for what may be looming on the horizon. And finally, I think that 2017 will be a significant year. You see, 70 years ago, on the 7th of the 7th, was the Roswell crash. Also, it's 33 years since 1984. 1984 is the title of George Orwell's very prophetic book. But perhaps the most significant is that the 31st of October marks 500 years since the Protestant Reformation by Martin Luther. This marked the beginning of the loss of power of the Vatican, the result of which shattered the Catholic Church. Also, it's 300 years since the founding of the Freemason Grand Lodge of England. According to FreemasonryToday.com, the first Grand Lodge formation was the 24th of June 1717, so 300 years later is the 24th of June 2017, perhaps a date for the diary. But the website also says that they will be holding a major international gathering on the 31st of October 2017, so that's the second pointer to this date. Now this is where it gets crazy. This international gathering will be held at the Royal Albert Hall in London. 2017 marks 150 years since construction began for the hall. A strange theory, but considering the opposition between English Freemasonry and the Vatican, is it possible that Rome will carry out an attack on the Royal Albert Hall on October 31st this year, during the Freemason International Gathering? I mean, we even have the predictive programming for this. The film London Has Fallen begins with an international gathering of major world leaders in London, where they are systematically murdered, mainly through explosive means. Or perhaps an attack will happen elsewhere, and the prominent Freemasons will be in the Albert Hall in order to avoid it. You know, you could argue it both ways. Now, of course, I'm not stating this as fact. I am merely speculating and using the symbols of the past to attempt to see into the future. You know, perhaps it doesn't mean anything and it's just a coincidence that they're holding the international gathering on the 31st of October. Let me know what you think, but I think something significant will happen this year. Perhaps the 21st of August, perhaps the 24th of June, or more likely the 31st of October. Also, remember, Friday the 13th of October is the anniversary of the suppression of the Knights Templar. The 13th of October hasn't landed on a Friday for 11 years, but 2017 it does fall on a Friday. Perhaps another date to look out for. Another example of predictive programming which I found during this research is in the Batman film Dark Knight Rises. The camera hovers for a second over a map of Gotham City, on which the place name Sandy Hook has been circled. The film was released in July 2012, 5 months before the Sandy Hook shooting. The second strand to this example is that during a midnight screening of this film, on the 20th of July 2012, the so-called lone nut, James Holmes, entered the movie theatre and opened fire on the audience, killing a total of 12 people. And 3 days before this happened, the rapper Lil Wayne released his music video for his song My Homies Still. Featured in this video is a scene in a cinema showing 12 skeletons. Now this prophesied the 12 people who would be killed 3 days later in the Aurora shootings in the cinema. The lyrics of this song really suck, but it even references a semi-automatic no-click click, and I gotta put that patch over my third eye. I found that interesting. Also, Family Guy are said to have prophesied the Boston Marathon bombings with an episode which depicted eerily similar details which would later happen in real life. Some people suggest that this is what the Illuminati card Joggers depicts. So that brings this video to a close. I would like to thank Russian Vids, who pointed out the Bedlam in Belgium AC/DC song being released 33 years before the Belgium attacks. That is what really sparked this research. Russian Vids also points out that the license plates of the vehicles at these terror events often adds up to 33 in numerology. I will leave links in the description. Take care, everyone.